Hey everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today we're in a more forested part of the property, and I just wanted to make a quick video and tell you about a wonderful plant that we have growing that has multiple purposes for multiple things. And it is mullein. And I know that a lot of people think that they know everything that a mullein plant can do. Let's actually look, because it's right here. Let's actually look at what I'm talking about. So this is mullein. I don't know if you can see that. This long stalk, and then it has this, they are oblong leaves that are sort of velvety. I love the feel of it. And it's not quite like green, it's more like a sage. And then these little hairs that are on it that make it feel velvety, they are almost give it a like grayed look to it. It actually looks very similar to, if this was smaller, it would look like a sage. And then it grows on this long stalk, and then you have these beautiful little yellow flowers on it. And the bees and the pollinators love this plant. It's just so early in the morning right now. They're not really out so much. So the mullein plant is a very, very great plant. And I am not a doctor, and I'm not trying to tell anyone any kind of medical information. I am only telling you what we do and what we use it for. I'm not suggesting that anyone use it. Disclaimer, always check with your doctor. But this plant for us is amazing. And I've always struggled with lung issues, especially in the winter time. And a couple of my kids do as well. And so there's like, we utilize this for 3 uses. So of course you can do what I think most people know, and that is you can collect these leaves just by clipping them, which is what I'm going to do. And you dry them. The same place that I raise my seeds in my little utility room, it has a metal shelving unit in it, and I just lay the leaves right there to dry out. That's all I do. I make sure there's no direct sunlight, and they dry, and I wait until they get crispy, and then I take these leaves and I get the large canning jars. I think those are 1/2 gallon, and because these leaves are huge. Again, I'm going to show you again. So these are small, and like, look how large those are. So you can fill up a jar very, very fast. Because these down here, if those weren't so browned, I could take some of those. And I mean, those are like 3 or 4 of my hand. So, I mean, mullein leaves really go a long way. The other thing are with these beautiful little flowers. But I will harvest these flowers and I put them in oil, and I keep it in a small canning jar in my refrigerator. And anytime me or the kids have an earache, we call this earache medicine. It's not really medicine, I want to make clear, but it definitely soothes some earaches. Now, if you have an earache infection, I would not use the mullein. We call it mullein oil. And but I would be careful. If you just have like a simple earache, like we had been at a football game last year, and my son was getting just an earache, I think from being in the wind. And I put that in there, and about an hour later, his earache was gone. So there's all sorts of home remedies for earaches, I know, and some of them work sometimes, some of them don't. I think it depends on what is going on in that inner ear. So again, this is something that you just try. It's a home remedy, and it works for us, I would say, about 80% of the time. But there is that 20 where my kids will like get an ear infection or something, and I recognize that they have a temperature and I don't use it. So if they have a temperature and all that, then we'll usually try to go other ways before I would use the mullein oil. You do have to be careful I mean, I had a doctor growing up who suggested for me to put what they called sweet oil or almond oil in my ear when I had an earache, and it almost always helped me. So again, this is what we do. We're not medical experts. We're just telling you what we do. But there's other benefits to the mullein plant which are amazing. And another one with the leaves is when my kids, you know, get sick, especially, again, we kind of don't do this through the summer, not really the fall. It seems to be kind of hit us in the winter. And we will cut the leaves, dry them. I put them in that big half-gallon container that I was telling you about before, and I'll make a tea with them. And so but it's not the only thing I put in. I know that some people smoke mullein, like when they're having lung issues. And it's more, what I have noticed it's for is if you're going to smoke it. And I have a couple times I have smoked it. I'm not a smoker, but I did smoke the mullein. And you just take the dried mullein and, you know, stuff it into a pipe, and you do some inhales. There's lots of medical professionals who say don't do this. They think smoking of any kind is terrible. So I just wanted to get that out there. But I can tell you what it did for me. And so I had smoked a little bit of this mullein, and my lung was really, really tight and congested. And it got the mullein in there, and it kind of got me coughing. But coughing it up, it helps like break up congestion. And so it was really, really helpful to me and made me feel better where I could sleep. So sometimes if you can't get to the doctor, or maybe some of you don't want to go to the doctor, you know, we live pretty far out, and so sometimes going to the doctor is quite a trip for us. So it's nice to have some home remedies until you can get to the doctor. So that's my thing with mullein. I'm actually going to go ahead and harvest some leaves so that we can dry them. Oh, there's another one too. I totally forgot about this. And this actually came from, it's a lady who was also on the show Alone. What's her name? Nicola Pellion?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. And you can actually take these fresh leaves and clip them off and put them in your shoes. I think it's been around for a long time that your feet are great. Like that's where a lot of detoxifying happens. And you can also pull, I don't want to say nutrients because I'm not sure on that, but I know that you can pull in through your feet also. But you put them in and you use them like insoles. And so if you use them like insoles, then it also helps with inflammation. So that's kind of, and remember, your skin is your biggest organ, so that sort of makes sense. So I love all this, and we are going to, sorry for the sun, we are going to go ahead and clip some of these leaves. I might go ahead and take some of these blossoms too. I hate to do it unless I'm actually going to make the oil, and we're going camping, so I might not do that. But I'm going to go ahead and definitely take some leaves. I'd like for my husband to wear them as insoles at work today. So let's get started. Okay, so Christopher and I, the one I just showed you is a very, it's definitely a second year mullein. It's a 2-year plant. It's a biennial. And so it has that big stalk. First year mullein will not have that big stalk. So we're gonna kind of walk around and look for a baby mullein to show you, or a first year mullein to show you. They have some pretty good succulent leaves. I love those. So we're gonna look for some of those and show you a first year mullein. Oh, here's one. So here is a tiny mullein. This is a first year mullein. Christopher, show them in comparison to your hand. So as you can see, it's substantially smaller. Now, first year mullein will still get big. It'll still produce like a big head of leaves, but it just won't have that stalk coming out. But I do like to take from these as well. Here are 3 little mullein plants. These aren't quite as big as the last mullein plant that we were doing, but right with it is a first year mullein plant. I'm actually going to harvest from this one. Okay, so we got our mullein. And this is just a little bit. I will actually go through and do a much bigger harvest. I went and got some of the mullein that we use throughout the winter. It just popped. Some of it is already like ground for tea or stuffing into a pipe, but this is what it looks like dried. And it's extremely beneficial. And then this is the oil that I do. And so what I do is at very low temperatures, I think it's for like, actually, let me look that up, Elijah. Okay, so there's actually 2 ways to do this. Last year I did the hot oil infusion, and it's where you use a double boiler. So I don't have a double boiler, so what I do is I use a pot and I put water in, and then I take like one of my stainless steel bowls, and I use the stainless steel bowl as my double boiler. Doesn't matter. So actually, and so you just bring it to like just a slight heat to it, just a slight heat. It's not like boiling. I know I said double boiler, but that's the actual technique. So you're just going to use this as like just to heat up the oil so that it kind of pulls some of the essence of that flour out and into the oil so that you're actually getting some. Okay, so there's actually 2 ways to do this. Last year I did the hot oil infusion, and it's where you use a double boiler. So I don't have a double boiler, so what I do is I use a pot and I put water in, and then I take like one of my stainless steel bowls, and I use the stainless steel bowl as my double boiler. So actually, and so you just bring it to like just a slight heat to it, just a slight heat. It's not like boiling. I know I said double boiler, but that's the actual technique. So you're just going to use this as like just to heat up the oil so that it kind of pulls some of the essence of that flour out and into the oil so that you're actually getting some. Another way to do it is by cold infusion, and you'll just put it in a canning jar like this. You'll fill it up with oil like I have it, and then and I did this 2 years ago, and you just put your flowers down in it. So you can take fresh or dried flowers. You can also use the leaves. If I was going to use the leaves though, I guess you could use fresh leaves. We do it with lemon balm. But every website that I've been on says to use dried flowers and dried leaves. And you just steep this for like 7 to 10 days. I mean, really all we're trying to do is get those oils out of it. And it does have a lot of healing properties. And I wanted to let you know, especially, I know it's only July, but we have to start preparing for the flu and winter seasons. And so this is on just a generic health line. But it works not for all people, but for some people, for cough, congestion, bronchitis, asthma, even constipation, pain, inflammation, migraines, sleep, and gout. So I think that there's a lot of like anti-inflammatory, which is why I will pick out some of these bigger leaves and put them in my husband's shoes because he's on cement all day. Or if you're struggling with any kind of inflammation, I really want to give these to my mom too because she has arthritis. It's just many, many uses. And you'll notice with how I showed you what the plant looks like, you'll start like looking all over. Even if you don't have acreage or don't know anybody with acreage, mullein kind of grows all over. So The only thing I would be careful of is making sure that you're not picking somewhere where they spray. So along like these county roads and stuff where a lot of times you'll see mullein growing, they spray those. So if you can, I would make sure that it's something that hasn't been sprayed. You can smoke it, use it as a tea, use it in an oil. This is our earache formula. It's wonderful. And you can even put like you can put the dried stuff in other teas. You know, if you're trying to get your little one to go to bed, you can put some, and they have a cough, you can put it in something that is, I can't believe I almost forgot this. So mullein has, I don't know if you can see this, but tiny little fibers. And so because of that, when you do make tea, make sure you strain it. Strain it through cheesecloth, strain it through a sieve, strain it through something, because this can irritate and tickle your throat. And I know this firsthand because I made a tea and wasn't thinking and I didn't strain it, and it tickles your throat to death. I mean, you're not gonna die from it, to my knowledge, but you will definitely want to strain this through something, and so that those little fibrous hairs don't get into your tea. But other than that, you can mix these. Like I make, when my kids are sick, I make a lemon chamomile mullein tea. They really love lemon balm also, and lemon balm helps soothe, especially like, you know, some kids can get pretty anxious with their coughs, and so they love a nice lemon balm mullein tea, and it really helps clear up their lung congestion. If my children were super bad, I would take them to the doctor. But when they have the first beginnings of something, we use mullein. So if I feel like I try to stay away from antibiotics, but sometimes you need antibiotics too. So sometimes we do go to the doctor, but I feel like, you know, this is like a first course of action. Once we know that they're getting sick, and once we hear the kind of congestion, it definitely works. So I love to pass these little things along, and most of the time you're going to be able to get all of this stuff very easily and for free. And again, if you don't have a wire rack like I do, you can lay these out pretty much anywhere, as long as it's not in direct sunlight. And if it doesn't have good airflow, then I would turn them several times. But very great multi-use weed. When you can use weeds, I mean, why not? So remember, if we can make many uses with our mullein, anybody can. Thanks. Bye.